Hello and welcome to our tip of the week. Today I'm going to be talking about the importance of cleaning up your conflicts. When I first learned through my own training and through my own work that conflict is actually perpetual and that generally speaking, the conflicts we have with folks remain. So if any of you, for those of you who are in long-term relationships, you will notice that the argument you have is perpetual and it comes up over and over and over again. And I know in my own relationship with my husband, I think to myself, didn't we already talk about this last month? And here we are arguing about it again. So perpetual conflict is a normal part of relationship. And according to Dr. John Gottmann, he suggests that we devise a plan for how we're going to navigate those perpetual conflicts when they come up. What can happen in regards to perpetual conflicts, what perpetual conflicts are actually rooted in, rather speaking, is that perpetual conflicts stem from the fact that we're trying to change each other. So we're not actually working on solving a problem together. The perpetual conflict revolves around us trying to change the other person. And when we try to change each other, what happens is we threaten their primary identity, and it's a very natural response to become defensive when this happens and to dig our heels in. There are certain things that we shouldn't actually have to change or compromise in order to be in relationship with each other, and so we need to really get clear about what those things are. And what Gottman suggests is that we work on learning to accept one another and develop a fondness and an admiration for those things in each other that we do appreciate, and that we focus on those things, and that we in fact turn our attention towards working on our solvable problems, which takes us away from character traits and trying to change each other, but actually looking at what are the things that we can work on together to improve and to solve in our relationships. So all of this applies to intimate relationships, professional relationships, relationships with children, and relationships amongst team members working together in an organization or in a community. So I've got a list here that I wanted to share with you in terms of improving your relationships with each other and cleaning up your conflicts. And what I mean by that is just if conflict is perpetual and we're going to continue to have conflicts recycling in our relationships, then it's important that we're able to have our conflict in a clean way, to take out the toxicity, and to remove the behaviors that are detrimental to ourselves and the other person, and to have the conflict in a more skillful way. What I was also surprised to learn is that Gottman says it's not the people who have conflict whose relationship suffers or is in trouble. It's the folks who are no longer having conflict. They're not talking about these things. They're actually turning away from each other. So having conflict at least means we're still connected with each other. So the next step would be to improve the way that we do conflict. Now I know that this is easier said than done, but with a little bit of effort, we can, even the smallest little shift can change the way we're interacting with each other. So first of all, it's important to know what our core values are, and to be able to teach each other about what those things are so that folks understand us and where we're coming from. But we first have to have an understanding of ourselves. So even making a list of what our values are and what's important to us and why, so that we can convey those things to the people around us so they understand who we are and where we're coming from. If we feel understood, and if other folks feel understood, then we're less likely to feel threatened by one another, and we're less likely to attempt to change each other. Avoid becoming defensive, using blame, or becoming contemptuous or stonewalling each other. These are the 4 toxins that Dr. John Gottman talks about, and we cannot resolve conflict where there is blame. And the other toxins have a detrimental effect on our health and our ability to have a healthy, functioning relationship, a sustainable relationship that will last. So the first one is just really recognize if you go to blame, self-blame or blame of the other, because the other three toxins follow blame. So if you can nip it in the bud at blame, you're doing really, really well. But notice if you're going to blame defensiveness, contempt, or stonewalling in the conflict, and stop the conflict right then and there, and ask each other or pose the question, are we willing to move forward without the toxins? Create a plan for working with them, because they do tend to creep in. The next thing is work on the delivery of your message to others so that they can hear it. Soften your approach. Often when we're upset or we're triggered and we have a bone to pick with somebody, we come across as harsh. Our tone is harsh. Our body language is harsh. Often our facial expression is harsh. And our message is harsh. And that harshness triggers folks. So if we want to be heard and we want to create dialogue with somebody so that we can work on our problems together, think about what your message is and get really, really clear about it, and then practice approaching the person in a way that is non-threatening. Often just inviting dialogue by addressing our concerns about having the dialogue is useful. So soften your approach and work on articulation of your message. The next thing, and actually one of the most important things, is remaining open to influence or open to changing your mind. Demonstrate a willingness to be influenced. Let the person know that you're there, you're willing to work on the problem, you're willing to hear from them, and that you are not you're not interested in being positional, that you're willing to change if necessary for the benefit of the relationship. That really puts both parties or a group of people at ease if everyone that's coming to the dialogue or the conversation is demonstrating that willingness. People they feel safer, there's a sense of trust, and people are less likely to become defensive and protective. Focus on solvable problems. So that means work on the things that can be changed. For instance, circumstances as opposed to changing the person. So get really, really clear about what the focus of the conversation is. What is it? What is the problem that you're working on? And ensure that it doesn't focus on changing characteristics of individuals involved. That it's either circumstantial or that we're talking about shifting behaviors, but it's not about changing the core identity of somebody, of the person, yourself or the other person. And find the common ground. It's good to talk about what are the things that you agree on, what are the values that you share, and why it's important to work things out together. That common ground is a place where we can both sit together and feel some ease, and we can come together in a more collaborative fashion. So talk about what the common ground is. And most importantly, build positivity where possible. Show appreciation for one another. Acknowledge each other and develop a fondness for each other's differences. We're all different. We're all unique. And it takes many different skills and talents and perspectives and different types of folks to come together to solve the challenges that we have in our communities and in the world. So, we can't all be alike. So it's important that we, work on our solvable problems, stop trying to change each other, and develop a fondness for each other's differences. And this value for diversity as opposed to being afraid of the things that are unfamiliar to us. It's amazing what a diverse group of folks can do when they come together with a common goal in mind. And there's such a wide diversity of people working in our communities. From the people that are living within the communities to the folks that come from off the reserve to work with us. There's incredible diversity and talent there, and it's so important that we begin to talk about how do we work better together as opposed to the question of should we. It's not a matter of should we work better together. It's a matter of how do we work better together, considering our fate at this time in history to be working with such great challenges, but also with such great opportunity and all of the talent that we have to draw on. So remember, conflict is normal, it's perpetual, it should not be avoided. We should find new and improved ways of having conflict that is not damaging. it's important to not repress how you're feeling about things, because then we run the risk of blowing up perhaps, or demonstrating other unhealthy behaviors. And the more we're able to come together and have a tough conversation, which takes immense courage on all parties, the more we're able to do that and we experience a positive outcome, the more our courage increases and our capacity for having constructive conflict expands. So have a great week, and look for opportunities to change the way you do conflict. Bye.